You want to go on a rabbit hole, baby? Let's go down that hole. I want to dig in that hole with you. Let's dig out that hole. So depending on what time period you're talking about, will give you a different answer on what God is the more popular God or the supreme being. For instance, Elohim. He is one of the older gods that goes back into the historical record, something like, let's just say 2000 BCE. I'm not going to look at my notes. So he's old AF. Whereas Yahweh is a younger god. He doesn't make his way into the archaeological record till after the Bronze Age collapse, somewhere around 900 BCE. So you see the age difference. Baal Hadad, who was another important deity, is, I would say, just as old as Elohim, but he usurps El in some places in popularity. Not everywhere, but let's say specifically Canaan. In some parts of Canaan, Baal Hadad, the storm fertility god, rose to supremacy above El. Now, that does not mean that El is kicked out, is not as important. It just means that Elohim has more of a cosmic fatherly role where he is up here overseeing everything. You kind of go to him for anything you need. You still have to get his approval to become a king, to get a palace, to have a throne. Whereas Baal Hadad is called Baal Zebul in the Bible and also in the archaeological record as Prince of the Earth. So his rule is not in the cosmos. His rule is here on earth. And when Yahweh appears, like I said, somewhere around 900 BCE, on the Moabite stone, having his ass handed to him by Chemosh, which you can find that, I think, in Kings. I forget. You can find that story in Kings. But Yahweh, since he's an unknown, like tribal god, like a smaller god, he has to basically take on the persona of a more popular god. And there is a possibility that Yahweh just kind of took over who Baal Hadad was. There are some people who've put that forward, that basically Yahweh didn't just assimilate El, he also assimilated Baal. Because if you've looked at some of my other videos, you'll see that some of the Psalms look like they're just completely lifted out of the Baal cycle, which is an ancient poem from Ugarit about Baal Hadad's death and rising. Where was I going? So eventually Yahweh usurps El and takes on his persona, takes a lot of Baal Hadad's persona, as well as Asherah. Because again, when the patriarchal forces need to have the control, they need to knock out other power sources. And Asherah was a power source, not just for women. The men, even in Jeremiah, the men say, yo, our wives were worshiping Asherah with our permission. Did we not help them collect the wood for the fire, you dumb bitch? Did we not bake cakes? Did we not pour libations to the Queen of Heaven? You dumb bitch, you stupid bitch. So this was a familial affair. So when the Yahwist took away Asherah, it did leave a hole. I'm serious when I say there's a power vacuum. They needed to fill that tree-shaped hole, basically with as aspects of Asherah. Yahweh now became the living tree, the source of everything, wisdom, nurturing. Everything now comes from Yahweh. He's like gulpity gulped everybody up and has now taken on all the personas of the famous Canaanite gods. I've rambled on. Did I answer the question? So gods are confusion. There's so many. Is there like a top? So there was a top in Canaan, and it at one time would have been El. And that's what I was going to say. So to some people, Baal Hadad was the more popular god, but not everywhere. Along the Mediterranean coast, there is a lot of evidence that it was actually Elohim who was still the more popular god. So what makes that interesting is, when Rome came in and they, did what they did, which was horrible, like take down the temple, took Jewish people out as slaves, etc. People think that it was only Jewish people who lived in Canaan, which is just so not true and so unfair to whitewash history. There were still Canaanites who lived in Canaan who worshipped other gods, Elohim, El being that one God. So eventually, like, I don't know, the 7th century Common Era, when eventually Muhammad, Islam, whatever, made its way into Canaan, it kind of almost makes sense that they're worshiping El, and now they are still worshiping El. So converting, to me, seems to make sense. Shit, I've rambled on a lot. Okay, love you. Did this answer anything? Bye.